Hey folks, this is Paul talking about A Course in Miracles and going within. Where is heaven and what is within you? There's a lot of stuff in the Course talking about going inside, going deeper, going behind your thoughts, going underneath, getting away from the world, that you look within before you look without. Now, that you have an inner altar, that God is inside your mind and heaven is in your mind. So there's a shitload of stuff in the Course that seems to focus externally all the time, talking about people and bodies and your brother and the world and space and time and physical things happening, things that are upsetting you, stuff that you have to forgive, and all this kind of perceptions and relationships and all this stuff. But those are kind of all secondary issues. It's like we're not really supposed to be focusing on all these things. Or you don't need to, because whatever's in you comes out of you. Whatever's in your mind, you project. So projection makes perception. You look within yourself, first of all, at whatever content is in your mind, and then you project it onto the world, onto other people. And so say you have a feeling of guilt, or you have some self-hatred, some self-attack. Only the self-accused condemn. You accuse yourself, and then you go through this denial and this projection, and you find a scapegoat. And you try to push it out, and you project this content onto some person and see it in them, or you try to attach it to them. You disassociate it from yourself, and then you try to associate it with somebody else. And then you sort of pin the blame for, say, you're the one that's hated and you're the one that's condemned. And then we start thinking about, how do I forgive this person for being so condemned? How can I work on this? What do I need to apply in order to do a forgiveness about somebody that I hate, or somebody that I think is evil, somebody that is guilty? And then people say, well, you got to take back your projections. So then you say, okay, the stuff that I see in you, would I accuse myself of this? I probably have accused myself of this. And I put the guilt in you, and now I'm going to take it back and say, okay, you're not the one that I'm saying is guilty. You're not the one that is condemned and accused. This is really my stuff. I'm going to be responsible for my stuff. This is really about me. It's not about you. And so that means that you're going back towards the source of where this projection came from, and now you're trying to now undo that faulty judgment of yourself within your mind. So if you were to just sort of ignore the world, and I've been talking about worlds a lot, but if we just pretend the world isn't even there, then most of the purification and healing and undoing and forgiveness really takes place within your mind. So if you are the movie projector, and you have this movie reel in your mind, and the movie is playing a dark, twisted, evil movie, you project that outwards onto the world. So as the Course says, projection makes perception. Everything you see is a thought in your mind that you've projected outwards. An outward picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. So it's like whatever's in here ends up going out there. And then you think you're dealing with it out there. It's in other people, and it's the stupid ways that the world works, and it's the government and the politicians, and it's whatever. But it's not anything really to do with them. It's all this sort of internal stuff that you keep putting onto the world and attacking the world with it. But it's because you've done it to yourself first. So everything starts with you. It's all starting in your mind with some kind of self-abuse, self-condemnation, self-hatred, making yourself guilty, attacking yourself, separating yourself off, a sense of internal specialness, selfishness, a sense of what's wrong with you, a lack of love within yourself, a sense of I'm a sinner and I'm guilty and I deserve to be punished, an unloving attitude, an unforgiving attitude towards yourself. That's where it all starts. That's what the whole problem is that you're full of crap. So then the challenge, then it just tends to be projected onto everyone and everything, because that's like a coping mechanism where you're trying to get rid of it, or to disown it, or deny it, or hide from it, pretend it's not in you, shove it away, and have it go somewhere else. You want to distance yourself from it, and separate yourself from it, and keep it in the dark. And that pushing away kind of pushes it out, away from you. You want it to be over there somewhere. You don't want it to be close by. It's too close to home. So you hurl this stuff out onto the world and the bodies and everything, and then think that you have issues with things in the world, and it's the world's a problem, and it's the people are a problem, and the bodies and everything you see is full of crap, and you hate the world and all this stuff. But it's all that's like secondary side effects. That's like you started out with this internal problem, and now you've externalized it. You're just broadcasting your pain onto things that aren't the cause of the pain, broadcasting responsibility onto other people and saying, you're the one that has this issue and I don't like this, and so you are the one that's going to have to change in order to get rid of this issue, and if you change, I'm going to feel better. So it's like now you're like disowning responsibility for these murderous attitudes, putting responsibility for them onto somebody else and saying, you are responsible for my life, my feelings, my experience, my happiness, and you're the one, you now are given the role and the duty to have to be the one that does something about it. You need to do the healing, you need to do the forgiving, you need to change, you can't be like this, it's wrong. So as Jesus says in the Course, you actually you have this self-condemnation, this self-attack. You project the stuff that you don't like, the guilt and the hurt and the pain and the misery and the darkness and the negativity, and you project it. And then having projected it, in order to get rid of that stuff, you attack it. So you try to dissociate from it, which is the separation, to increase the sense of a distance between you and it by attacking it. So you first put this guilt in you, and then you attack the guilty party. You attack the guilt itself and try to get rid of the guilt and destroy the guilt through attack, through an ego strategy, and that seems to distance you from it and project it out onto someone else, and now you think it's not connected to you. It's you've attacked so much that you've made it seem like it's not in you anymore. It's not in your mind, it's not a part of you, it's not your stuff. It now belongs to them, and they're the ones that have to do something. They're wrong, they're evil, they've said the wrong words, they've done the wrong actions, they've hurt you, they've attacked, they've sinned, particularly if they seem to be doing something that you decide is not allowed or is not a good thing. You now have this great opportunity to pounce on them and say, look at what you've done. You did it all by yourself. I didn't cause you to do this. You just did something bad, and that means I've got a great opportunity to get my self-hate and shove it on you to be disguised and mixed in with your sinfulness, so that while you're busy doing something wrong, I can slip in my wrongfulness in with yours and mix them together, so that it will seem as though it's like if they're heading downhill, you can give them an extra push. A little nudge off the cliff. And say, okay, you attacked, so I now am justified in attacking you as well on top of your attack. And the two attacks together will be so like each other that you won't be able to tell them apart. And so it will hide the fact that the attack that I've projected is additional to what you're doing, and I'm using you as a scapegoat, and I'm adding my stuff on top of your mistakes to make it seem like you're extra guilty for them. I'm holding them against you, holding my condemnations and my sin and my self-attack against myself, against you, to bind you to that so that it's yours, and separate from it and attack you for it, attacking it in you so that it stays away. I don't want that stuff. And then you get stuck, and that's unforgiving. So to forgive doesn't really have anything to do with that person. It's you got to recognize I've put some kind of dark shite onto this external picture. It doesn't have any meaning. The world has all the meaning that I've given it to it. So as Jesus says, the world has no meaning. Your mind must give it meaning, and you look within to the meaning that's inside you, and you project your inner meaning onto the world. So if I've done that, I need to go backwards. I need to sort of take back my projected meaning. But you can't stop there. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to just hold on to it and keep it, because now the ego interprets that to mean you're really guilty, you deserve to die, you're just going to have to hang on to this guilt and keep it and feel bad about yourself. So the next step is, see if you take responsibility for everything you see, responsibility for sight, anything you have projected onto the world is your responsibility. The content that you've projected onto the form, then taking responsibility for it can feel like a horrible burden, because you projected it in the first place because you couldn't stand it inside your awareness. You didn't want it to be so in your face, so you wanted to get rid of it and give it to someone else, make it go away. So bringing it back makes you initially feel as though responsibility is tied to guilt, as if I'm going to be responsible, secret of salvation, I'm doing this to myself, and the other person's not doing it to me, I've done this, I've attacked myself. Then you can associate guilt with responsibility and feel as though I don't want to be responsible because that means I'm guilty. Like I'm the one that sinned, I'm the one that did something wrong, I'm bad, I'm unworthy of love and forgiveness. So you can get to that stage initially, but you have to find a way to get past that, because you have to really stop condemning yourself. So only the self-accused condemn. So if I have condemnation of myself, by myself, and I put that onto someone else and I'm trying to make them die because of it, then I'm not going to stop putting it out onto people and spewing it onto everybody I see until I get rid of it in myself, and they can't do it for me. So I've got to find a healing and a purification within myself in my mind, bringing the problem back into the mind that is projecting it. Ideas leave not their source. The idea of this guilt is still within my mind. Got to realize it's in me. This is some crap that's in me that I put there that has to go. It has to be healed and undone and corrected. I have to forgive myself what I think I've done. I have to be open to receive love. I have to learn that I'm not guilty. I have to embrace my innocence. I have to find a sense of identity in myself that isn't bound up with ego and with the body. If I change what's inside me, it will permanently change what I project and what I perceive. So if I'm constantly walking around spewing my self-hatred onto other people, I'm going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it for years and years and years, chronically, until the day that I forgive myself of this illusion of being hated and stop it, and then going forward will no longer put that onto everybody I see. So it's not like you have to forgive tons and tons of specific people, specific events, forms in the world, places and problems. There's not a huge number of things that you have to deal with, externally separate things. They're just targets for stuff that you're putting out there and putting onto them from within. You've got this sort of ammunition within you, and you're going and shooting it at whoever is the fall guy, whoever's going to take a hit for you. You can have a trail of bodies just from one pain. So similarly, you can undo this one pain, and then countless numbers of people will seem to be somehow forgiven. The next time you see them, you just don't feel the same way about them because you feel differently about yourself. So if you have healed yourself within and have realized that the pain was in you and you were just using people in the world as a scapegoat, and you can undo that within yourself and find healing and forgiveness for yourself, then you go and you mingle with these same people. Your relationship to them will be different. And it won't be because I worked on that person and I did lots of forgivenesses about them and stuff. It never was really about them. It's you that needs the forgiveness. Jesus, I think, says in the Course that you can forgive no one but yourself. So we're just walking around as time bombs, as guilty little sinful motherfuckers who believe that we're not worthy of God's love, and we see ourselves as condemned and sinful and guilty and ashamed and unworthy of love and unable to receive and cut off and separate and special and selfish, and we hate ourselves. And Jesus says in the Course something about do not underestimate the extent of the world's insanity, and don't underestimate how much you hate yourself and your brother. So if our mind is in a state of hell, an internal hell, it's gonna see that everywhere it looks. It affects your perception. It affects your mind. It affects how you see. It affects what you see, what you read into what is physically there. It puts a whole layer of interpretation on top of things. It filters things. It skews your vision. It focuses on certain aspects of things and hides others. It distorts your whole view of what's outside of your body. So even though there's a whole lot of time spent talking about the world and the body and people's bodies and relationships and problems and forgiving things that happen to you and being attacked and all the rest of this sort of outside stuff, dealing with all that stuff is kind of secondary, and it's all kind of like what you end up doing after you've projected all your crap onto the world. Now you're sort of making sin real and cleaning up the mess and thinking, I've got to do another forgiveness, I've got to do another, got to forgive this person, I've got to deal with this hurt and blah blah blah. But it's not about the world. It's like a whole other step after you've attempted to get rid of and hide from your problem. You start seeing that your problem's in the world or with the world or the world's doing something to you. That's all the result of you denying that you hate yourself. So then you've got to take that step back and take a look inside. And the ego does not want you to look within yourself. The ego will suggest that if you would project sin and guilt, it will keep the separation going. If you dissociate, separation is dissociation, or the attempt to not identify with or associate with or be near to something. You want to make it go away and get rid of it and put it over there somewhere and attach it to somebody else. So the ego uses separation in your mind to split your mind and say, I'm going to free you from your guilt by separating it from you and giving it to somebody else. They can carry the burden for you, and then this will make you innocent. But it never leaves your mind, and you're just in denial, because now you're denying that you're guilty, that you believe you're guilty, and you're hiding from the belief that you're guilty, and you're imagining and pretending that somebody else is the guilty one. And the guilt that you think is in them and that you are feeling is part of them and bound to them is still an experience of guilt in your mind. It never gets outside of you. But when you're in denial that it's yours, you literally believe that it's not in you and it's outside your body and it's somebody else's stuff. And that makes it seem like it's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. So the ego's counseling you to attack and project and accuse and take your pain and misery and your sin and attack it, throw it at somebody else and make it stick to their walls. That you will therefore escape from that sin and guilt. The ego will even tell you that if the more that you can frame someone else for being the guilty one, the better you're going to be off. The more that they can be sinful, the more that you can accuse them, the more that you can separate yourself off from them, making a gap of space and time, so that all of your pile of crap is piled over there on their little island, separate from you, and you aren't going to be able to be in any way associated with it because it's cut off from you. The more you can do that, the better off you're going to be. And so even if you could make your body sick and attack your body and portray your body as a picture of crucifixion and make it look like it's been hurt and frame yourself as a victim and have pain and suffering, that would be a great thing from the ego's perspective, because that allows you to even more strongly imply that something outside you is the sinful one and the cause of that suffering. They made you in pain. They've made you sick. They've hurt your body. That your body becomes dysfunctional and broken in order to accuse them of being a sinner. Sick bodies are accusers. So your mind, through ego, actually attacks your body by using your body as a scapegoating mechanism to project your sin, your self-condemnation, onto someone else, using your body to deliver a message of you are a sinner and you're guilty and there's something wrong with you, which causes your body to to disfigure its form and appearance so that it looks as though something's wrong with it and it's guilty and damaged and broken, symbolizing the message that you're sending to your brother, such that you're even willing for your body to die as a small price to pay, if it means that you can scapegoat the living fuck out of someone else and have them be imprisoned and accused and condemned and take the fall for your sinfulness. Jesus talks about this in the Course, brother, by your hand I die. That we actually make our bodies sick in an attempt to prove that an external cause, not our own mind, caused the sickness, so that we can blame something other than ourselves for the things that we've blamed ourselves for. So we literally crucify the body, your own body, in an attempt to show a picture of crucifixion and say, hey, look at me. Look at what you've done to me. Look at what you've caused. Look at how much of a victim I am. Look at how hurt I am because of you, you asshole. You have killed me. And the ego would love for somebody to come along and murder you, because you would get the incredible benefit of seeming to be completely innocent, a helpless victim. You didn't ask for it, you didn't want it, you didn't choose it, they just came along and did it to you, and that means 100% of the guilt it belongs to them, and that means you are totally exonerated. So we literally are becoming suicidal, killing ourselves and destroying the body in an attempt to exonerate ourselves from a sense of sin and guilt that we want to somehow frame the world and other people for, so that we can get rid of the horrendous self-abuse that's inside us that we don't want to look at and heal. We're willing to have the body die rather than heal our mind, and rather than own up to the guilt. We don't want to go owning up to the guilt because it doesn't feel good. And we think it makes us responsible. But as the secret of salvation says, you're doing it to yourself. You have attacked yourself. You've hurt yourself. You've made yourself guilty. Jesus says, if you cannot be hurt unless you hurt yourself. Because you are immortal. You are incapable of being damaged or hurt. Nothing real can be threatened. So you are absolutely invulnerable, and so the only little clause or exception is nothing can ever hurt you except for if you yourself turn against yourself, and then you will impose imprisonment and hurt upon yourself, and then you will deny that you've done this, and then you will use the body to try to angrily attack your brother, causing your body to show up as a victim and playing a role of helpless, innocent me, so that they could take the fall for this self-attack, and then you can get away with murder by killing yourself. So it's bizarre, and it's extreme, and it's happening all over the place. But what this really gets back to is that the problem is in you, and it's not that you are a problem, it's that you believe that you are a problem, and so you have a bad attitude about yourself. You don't love yourself. Also, as Jesus says in the Course, those who love themselves would heal themselves, but they're sick because they don't love themselves. So literally, if you really, really, really loved yourself, you would use your body only to share love and extend love. This message of love would portray your body as not a victim in any way, not harmed, not hurt, not guilty, not sinful, not damaged, not vulnerable. And this causes your body to heal and show up as a picture of symbolic eternal life, showing your brother, hey brother, at your hand I live. Because you haven't hurt my body, you are innocent. And your body then becomes a symbol with a power greater than 1,000 tongues, proving on every level that your brother is not guilty and is not a sinner, because you're showing him that he has not done anything to you. So your body can become a sign of life, a symbol of immortality, and it can be used as a messenger to convey to those who look upon it that they must be sinless, because there's no sign of sin in the body, because the mind isn't using the body as a representative or a signal, a messenger to show sinfulness, show your hidden sinfulness to your brother. And so the body becomes sick when you scapegoat, and the body becomes healed when you forgive yourself. But it all goes back to the fact that this is all an inside job. All of the sense of separation and attack, all of the guilt, all of the sinfulness, all of the shame, the unworthiness, not being good enough, believing that you deserve to be punished, all the suffering, all the darkness, all the sense of not being with God, being exiled from heaven, having ego, feeling selfish, self-interests and specialness, feeling deprived and lacking, and so on, all this negative bullshit, it's all in your mind, which means that all sickness is caused by what's in your mind, and all health is caused by what's in your mind. So it's the content inside you that needs to be fixed. It's what's in your mind, in here, away from the world. It has nothing to do with the world. It has nothing to do with other people's bodies or other people. It has nothing to do with world events, groups of people, governments, politicians, sports teams, whatever. It has nothing to do with the weather, nothing to do with the food that you eat, nothing to do with any supposed causes in the world, nothing to do with wars, nothing to do with threats and dangers or problems or anything at all outside of your mind. Your entire suffering is internal. So whatever's in your mind, you will relate to yourself in that way. If you have hatred of yourself in your mind, your relationship with yourself is hateful. And you're walking around hating. And now you're going to be hating other people, hating worlds and bodies and things. And your whole perception and your sight, your relationship with whatever's there is going to be tainted by this projected hatred. You'll see through the hatred and see with the hatred eyes of fear and false perceptions and guilty perceptions and condemning thought projections. And it's all, you're going to get lost in those things because they distort, and the dissociation, the denial, the disowning, the not wanting to admit to it, the not looking within, is going to get you lost in a world of mess and brokenness and distraction and temptation. Now you're going to be thinking, I've got to deal with the whole world of stuff, I've got to forgive the whole world, I've got to forgive everybody, and so on. And it's not. There's only you. You're the only thing that needs to get forgiven. So ego wants you to be going out of your mind, which is the same thing as insanity. It wants you to be not staying still and not being within, where there is God and love and light and heaven. It wants you to move away from yourself and scapegoat and project and move outside yourself and seek outside yourself for salvation in idols and things in the world that you think will save you, that you've given responsibility to. That you say, if you would do this, I'll be saved. If you can do this to me, I'll be happy. If this can occur, then I'll feel okay and I won't be afraid. And that's all projected responsibility, saying, I don't want to be responsible for feeling okay. I want you to do it to me. I want the world to cause me to be happy. I want this person and this relationship to love me. I need to get something from the outside of myself. I need to get peace. I need to get happiness. I need to get love outside of me, doing it to me, causing me to experience these things. That's forgiveness to destroy. It's the attempt by the ego to separate you from the very thing that you're trying to get. So it's a denial that there is love in you. It's a denial that peace is in you. It's a denial of where God is in your mind. So when the Course says God is in everything you see, because God is in your mind, does not mean that the physical world is God. God is only in, mixed within, seen upon, reflected in the world you see, because God is in your mind. God is in your mind, not outside your mind. So whatever's in your mind will be projected, and you'll see it. So if you're seeing God in the world, it's not because God is out there. That's a perception, and the Course says perception is a result, not a cause. It's the result of projecting. So if you're seeing God, it's because God is inside. And God is in your mind. And that doesn't prove that the world is God. Whatever's in you, you're going to project. So the reflection of heaven upon the earth is a projection of heaven, where you look within yourself and find heaven within your mind and project it and see, like as Jesus says, you look out from your holiness to see the holiness of others. So you've got to be in your holiness, you have your holy vision switched on and activated, so you can now detect the holiness of others, because you're now projecting holiness onto them. And whatever you project, you're going to believe is really there. So then you see it. So the only way to see your brother's holiness is to have holiness in your mind, and to look for their holiness with your holiness, so that there's an opening to holiness. So it's really important to realize that for all the complexity and all the subjects and all the topics that we could talk about with the Course in Miracles, it really comes down to a fairly simple thing, that if you just get away from the world for a minute, all this external stuff, the problem is inside you. There is no other problem that needs to be resolved except for your self-attack. Secret of salvation is that you're doing it to yourself. No matter who seems to be out there doing it and attacking and being a victim or a victimizer, still this is true. Because you are immortal, so you can never be hurt or attacked. But as I mentioned, there is a slight clause in that, therefore, the only way for you to seem to be attacked is for you yourself to deny your own immortality and try to attack yourself. That's the only form of attack that your mind will seem to allow to happen. And that's a self-attack. All attack is self-attack. All death is suicide. So like when Jesus says, you cannot die without your own consent. You must have consented at the mind level. You must be causing it. You must be choosing it. You must be wanting it. You make it happen. Nothing comes to me unbidden by myself. Myself is ruler of the universe. Whatever happens is what I desire. So you are this masterful chooser, causer, creator, and nothing can happen to you against your will. So if you are suffering, you have used your own will to make yourself suffer. And that means that now you have attacked yourself, you've attacked the Son of God within yourself, and tried to separate from God within yourself. So it's really an internal problem. So any work that you do on forgiving, purification, it's internal purification. It's you going within. It's you getting away from the world and no longer thinking that your problems are out there, and realizing that you've got an issue. You've got an issue inside yourself. You have to be responsible for what you've done to yourself. And you have to look within, because the ego wants to have you just leave and run away and go out into the outside world and be separate. It doesn't want you to look within, because it tells you if you look within yourself, you're going to find out that you're guilty and you're sinful. And there's going to be something wrong with you. If you look within, you're going to take a look at yourself. You're going to find out that it's true, that something's wrong and that you don't deserve to live. And so the ego's counsel is always to deny and project what's in you and pretend that it's not in you at all and try to get it outside of you. And so what you have to do is go the other way. But the ego is saying, no, don't look within. Don't go within. Don't listen to what's inside your mind. Don't search. Don't do any soul searching. Don't actually direct your mind inward and look behind. Don't get behind your thoughts. Don't dig out anything. Don't go deeper. Don't try to find peace or love or happiness or God or heaven or anything of value in your mind, because there's only darkness and shit in there. So all of the ego's arrows point outward, and that's why the body and its eyes are fixated on externals and looking out away from you, so that by seeing what's outside of you only, the body does not see what's inside. All of the body's senses are designed to detect what is outside of the body. So the body was made in this egoic thought to try to not look within and not be aware of who you are inside, behind the body. So even your physical body is designed to put your attention in the opposite direction from where it needs to go. So you have to turn your mind around and take a look within, and going within, and you'll find out that everything you tried to get from the world, you were never going to get from the world, because that's not where it is. The love that you wanted was never outside there in some other body, some other person, some other object, some relationship, specialness, some external value, some idol that you worship. The love that you are looking for is in you. So that the ego has this seek and do not find mantra, where it's saying, make sure that you seek for the stuff that you're looking for everywhere outside of you where it isn't, so that you will not find it. But it will encourage you to seek. It'll say, you're not seeking hard enough, you're not doing enough lessons, you're not being spiritual enough, you're not loving enough, you need to try harder, you need to do more, you need to have more meditations and more mantras and affirmations, you're not enough. So it hurls you into this busy doing and external seeking. As Jesus says, all sickness is a form of external searching. So it takes you away from yourself and puts all your focus on the world and the body and things outside of you that don't exist. in order to keep you away from God who is within, to keep you away from yourself, because the path, the spiritual path, doesn't go off onto the distance. It goes inside. The direction of your salvation is inside. Jesus says, your salvation comes from my one self, which is inside or above. It's not out over there somewhere. It's not external. It's not outside the body as such. So the problem's in your mind. The solution is in your mind. God put this solution in your mind as the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit is in here in your mind. So if you're going to look for a solution to a problem, the problem has to be brought back into the mind and recognize that it's a problem that I have with myself. And I'm the one that needs the healing, and I need to access the Holy Spirit within me and bring that problem into the light within. So the whole idea of God being off in the distance as some faraway thing is an ego idea. God is underneath your skin. God is far closer to you than you realize. He's in you. So I had this belief that God was just off in some distant heavenly place, way on the other side of the universe or something, and then I had an experience of God that was so surprising, because he was not way over there. He was freaking inside here. He was in my mind, and closer than I ever thought possible. So the truth isn't out there. The truth is in here. So we can spend a lot of time dwelling on external stuff, people outside you and your work and your neighbors and your family members and so on, and people in the world, whatever, and external stuff. But it all is kind of a distraction away from going within and finding a truth, an inner peace. Like, how are you going to find inner peace? By searching for peace outside. Jesus says in the Course, the world cannot give you peace, nor can it take it away. Because peace isn't going to come from somewhere out there, and the something that's out there isn't going to take it away out there. The peace is not out there. There's no peace in the world. So we're really trying to find inner peace. All health is inner peace. So when your mind is in a state of peace, your mind is healthy, and it makes the body healthy. Because it now uses the body to picture health. Wholeness and harmlessness and innocence, and the body symbolizes that, and it shows up as a lovely body, free from pain and free from suffering and damage, to testify and prove that the mind has forgiven itself. And when it doesn't do that, and the body still is sick and damaged and broken and dying, it obviously shows that the mind has not forgiven itself. A broken body shows the mind has not been healed. But the mind being sane heals the body. So whatever this inner content is, that is either hellish and dark and evil, or beautiful and heaven-like and innocent and loving, that's this internal movement between these movie reels in your projector. Whether you're having a movie going on in your mind of death and destruction, or whether you're having a movie going on of love and creation, and trying to get your insides to receive a miracle and have healing as a thought corrector, to raise the level of your own relationship with yourself, and to become more awakened within yourself, or more loving of yourself, so that when your internal movie reel is showing a movie of love and self-love, it's going to look out with love, with eyes of love upon whatever is there. And obviously, if you look at things with love, they're going to seem nicer to you. They're going to seem harmless. They're going to seem more peaceful. They're going to seem less threatening. The love is going to give you a sense of protection and safety and invulnerability. So whatever you give to the world is what you're going to kind of get back from the world, because you're projecting stuff. So when Jesus says, like, don't seek not to change the world, but change your mind about the world, it's not talking about the physical so much. It's talking about, don't think that the rearranging the world is going to change your projection onto it. And you need to change your mind about your projection, which is you changing your mind about itself, so that you project something else onto the world and see that projected on the world. Now you have a different view of the world, or you're seeing a different perceived projection, a different image reflected. Earth can reflect heaven or hell, and it comes back to you through perception, and now you see what you have given it. The world has nothing, no meaning of its own. It only has what you've given to it. So the whole thing is about internal transformation, internal changes, your mind changing its attitude about itself, internal healing, forgiving yourself, undoing your self-attack, and getting rid of all this guilt and this sense of sinfulness and unworthiness, and opening up to who you really are, so that you'll then give that to the world and see it in other people and project it and have a reflection of it. And so that you will proactively be giving forgiveness and love, so that you don't make errors and therefore don't have to fix externalized problems, or having made illusions real. You would stay, of course, this is about you. The Holy Spirit keeps the illusions unreal from the start, so that you don't project illusions and have to believe that there are now real illusions that you have to fix and have to do forgivenesses about. So once the mind gets more healed, then it becomes more healing. Those who are healed become instruments of healing. The more that you open up to yourself and become more whole within, you're going to give more wholeness to other people and find yourself more connecting with them. So, like, how can your mind extend love and share love and join and connect and communicate and have relationship unless it's in a state of being more loving towards itself? So you've got to, in order to bypass your body and bypass their body and join with their mind, you've got to become more one with yourself, within yourself, at the same time as becoming one with them. So as within, so without. So you could sort of say, really, that most of our practice, except for when you're giving miracles and you're giving healing, giving the love that you have to share, giving union, giving resurrection, which is a service that you provide to your brothers that bypasses bodies, most of the work of awakening and being spiritual and having a path, doing a Course in Miracles, is working on yourself internally. But that doesn't mean that you're going to stop there and only work on yourself, because that's selfish. So you actually start in selfishness and isolation and exclusion and limitation and body identity and thinking that you're only here and not over there. And you're actually working, those are senses of imprisonment that come about from your condemnation of yourself. So over time, as you are freeing yourself from prison, you are freeing yourself from those boundaries and those blocks and those limitations and that sense of being isolated. being alone, being cut off from people, and you open up and join and connect and communicate and relate through love. And then that's opening up the doors and the channels for you to express love and be miraculous and be able to heal people and give them the healing that you've received. I can only give the miracles that I have received. So there's a whole lot of, there's sort of the two components. Is you've got to get your insides fixed up. You've got to flush out the bullshit, get your mind corrected, undo your belief in sin, your own sinfulness, get yourself reunited with God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, get your mind straightened out, get right-minded and sane, so that you can reconnect to other minds and open up to them and share with them and have relationship and communication and healing. And now you can now undo the separation between you and your brothers. You can undo their belief in their unworthiness. You can undo their level confusion, their insanity, their guilt. It is the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. It means that once I get myself forgiven enough, I can give literal causative forgiving power to another person and cause them to be forgiven on their behalf. As Jesus says that those who are sick have denied the light in their own mind that would heal them. So the light in another mind has to shine into their mind and enlighten it. So now you have to give it as a service. It's like you become a more loving towards yourself, so that you can resume your proper function of being of service, sharing the Holy Spirit's function as a healer, so that now you can give what you have received. Giving and receiving are one, and now you can share with others the love and the light that is in you, and you can be the light of the world. You can be a miracle worker. You can be a physician of the Lord. You can raise the dead. You can perform miracles. So Jesus talks about how if you've got issues inside your own mind, you have to work a miracle for yourself first as a perception corrector. But you never really directly change perception. Perception is a result of projection, always. You never really can change perception. You can change what you project. So you change what's in you so that you project something different and perceive something different. So perception is an end result of projecting, and it's not something that you directly change. You change the content in your mind so that you project something else and see something else. It's an indirect change. So if your mind needs to get fixed first, then you do some fixes to your mind first. Then, once you have got your mind to be miraculous enough, you can express miracles as Jesus calls energizers, or as thought creations, whereby you're now expressing from a state of love and giving God's power to another person, causing resurrection and healing. So at first it may seem that your application of healing and miracles is all about you, and it should be, and it shouldn't be about other people, because that's a big distraction. That's down the road. It's the end result of you disowning your stuff. So you take responsibility, seeker of salvation, you take the responsibility for being the one who has attacked yourself. You work on undoing your self-attack, and then gradually, as you open up as a flower and you blossom, you can now shine that same light that you found within yourself into the minds of other people and heal them. And so now miracles become more inclusive as you become more inclusive, and they first seem to be confined to only being you that needs the healing and you that gets healed, but then gradually it's extending out past, in the holy relationship, out past yourself and including others, being shared interests and applying to you and to them. Whenever I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. So, pretty important to realize that for all the massive amounts of subjects and things we could focus on, it's very simply about going within and going in the opposite direction from projecting, and finding within your mind the love and the peace and the beauty and the holiness and the innocence and God and heaven and the sonship and your true self and your inner altar. Inside, not outside. You've been looking all this time, dealing with outside things, and the world is constantly bombarding you with outside things. Sometimes you've just got to switch the world off and realize that there's a whole bunch of stuff inside that you have to find out a way to heal and undo your pain and misery. And then when you go back to the world and you interact with the world, you will be coming from a higher level. You'll be projecting love. You'll be being more at peace in that state of I need do nothing. So you go into the I need do nothing and find an inner calm and peace within yourself so that you can bring that calm and peace with you in all the busy doings on which you are sent, says the Course. So there's a lot of stuff in the Course about how you've been looking in the wrong place all this time. You've been looking outside yourself and trying to find stuff in the world to make you happy, trying to get people to love you, trying to get other people to do stuff to you, to cause you to be in certain states, whether it be that you don't want them to hurt you or that you want them to even try to heal you, that this might be just another form of positive victimhood. If the world is causing you in any way, you are a victim, regardless of the form that it takes, no matter whether it's someone's attacking you or somebody's handing you a pie, somebody is trying to kill you off with a gun, or somebody is kissing you on the cheek. Both of those are external things happening to you from the outside in, and they should not define you or change you, because you need to go within and find out who you really are inside, and then bring that self-realization and bring that to the world, being the light of the world. So some people get a bit hung up on the isolation of I need to accept atonement for myself. My sole responsibility is to accept atonement. But the reason why you have that sole responsibility is because the secret of salvation says that you've done it to yourself. So you are the one that needs the atonement. And you're having the free will, and so you're responsible for choosing the atonement for yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. But the purpose of choosing the atonement for yourself is so that you can share it and give it to other people. So people get a bit caught up in this. I'm going to become the light. I'm going to move away from the darkness and become the light. I'm going to leave the world. I'm going to go into my mind. I'm going to find some peace. And I'm going to get away from everything. But then they stop and they don't see the other parts of the Course that talk about how you're now supposed to bring that back into the world. I am the light of the world means that I've gone within and I've uncovered my inner light and taken off the barriers and the blocks and the dirt and the grime from my inner light. And now I'm in a position to shine, and I'm going to shine into the darkness of the world. Fail not in fulfilling your function of loving in a loveless place made out of darkness and deceit, for thus are darkness and deception undone. You are to bring the light of heaven into the world. Some people don't think that this is right because they've been taught overly much that you're supposed to bring the illusions to the truth. Bring your problems back into your mind. Take back your perceptions. And there's all this withdrawing and all this going within, which is fine, up to a point. The purpose of going within is so that you can expand and be inclusive within to encompass everyone that seems to be without. And therefore that you now become a miracle worker, you join the Great Crusade, you do something in the world, you take your I need do nothing and you bring it with you as you do things, as you perform things that you're sent to do, that Jesus is going to arrange for you to go meet certain people and do certain things. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent He who sent me, and go into the world being a physician of the Lord, being a miracle worker, doing His works, doing the Holy Spirit's works, fulfilling His function in this world, which is healing. So we can't just have, I'm going to become a light, but I'm not going to shine it in the world. I'm going to become a light and I'm going to go within and find myself and be peaceful, but I'm not going to perform any miracles. I'm going to become this peaceful person sitting on a cloud on the fence, but I'm not going to actually join with another mind and resurrect the dead. I'm not going to heal any bodies. I'm not going to do anything that might imply going back into the world. And people are mistaken in thinking that you're not supposed to do that. You are supposed to go back into the world. For as long as it's needed, your soul cannot rest until every member of the family of God has found atonement. Everybody else is a part of yourself. Your soul cannot be fully at peace until everyone in the sonship is at peace. So now it becomes your duty. Jesus literally says it is your duty to heal others. And so it's a privilege of the forgiven to forgive. Part of the privilege and the joy and the true pleasure of doing God's will comes from using the love and the light that you've found and you've received and you've become aware of in yourself to lift other people up and restore them and help their minds and undo their sicknesses and raise the dead. And it gives you great pleasure to do that. There's no more joyful thing than the feeling of making someone happy. To give somebody a gift of healing, to free someone from a prison, to lift somebody up out of their suffering and give them life. Nothing can make you more happy. So we can't be selfish about it and say, I'm going to go within and then I'm going to stay away from all you guys. Just screw you, I'm just going to hide from all you guys. The purpose of getting in touch with the inner light bulb is so that you can let the light out and give and extend and love and share, communicate. And spread the word of God and use the body to bring the word of God to those who have it not. And to be a healer. And that's the whole point of this. You get healed so that you can heal others. You give what you have received. You pass on what you've been given. And this reflects creation in heaven, where God has given you everything. And your function now is to give everything that you have inherited. So now on earth, you have the same kind of function where you have to now reclaim your inheritance and get back in touch with the love and the light that is in you so that you can pass it on and give it to others and be part of the atonement plan and resurrect the sonship. So we need to go within to get away from the distraction of all the illusions, of all the ways that our inner crap gets projected, so that we can work on it within and heal it and undo it and forgive ourselves, so that we can then broadcast God's message and be the light and bring the light and the love and the healing to other people. Being a teacher of God. So here's a selection. A selection of quotations from A Course in Miracles. Just want to finish off with this. I'm going to keep this a bit shorter. Talking about going within and what you're going to find when you go within. And it might surprise you just how much Jesus is saying that all the things that you thought you would find by searching outside, you're going to find them by searching within yourself. Forgiveness sweeps away distortions and opens the hidden altar to the truth. Its lilies shine into the mind and call it to return and look within to find what it has vainly sought without. For here and only here is peace of mind restored, for this is the dwelling place of God Himself. So this is like saying God is not outside your mind, and peace is not outside your mind. So when we're in bodies, we tend to think that our mind is only in here, the body is outside of you, the world is outside even more, and that we need to go out there to find peace and find love and find value and everything and find God. Seek and do not find. And Jesus is saying you need to go within. God is only going to be found within your mind. Peace is only going to be found within your mind. You've got to have the peace in here. I just want to say something about this term, within. So we see ourselves as being inside bodies, and so we think within means going inside here within the body, which is sort of true. But this mind is separated by the body separation device from the rest of mind, technically, and that's why your brothers who appear to be out there in bodies are within your mind. Your mind is the size of the universe. So you contain heaven and earth in your mind. God is in your mind. Every brother is in your mind because you are inclusive. And your mind is the whole sonship. Your mind is the kingdom. So when we say within you, we're talking about you are with the interior of mind, with the things that are in the interior of the mind. The mind is very large, but we want to sort of imply that that doesn't include physical objects, and it doesn't include external sights and sounds and bodies, because we want to get the idea that you need to get your mind off of the physical and away from the form and transcend appearances and get more in touch with mind and spirit, and be more open to what we might think of as above or higher or deeper or behind these movements away, movements into form and into physicality. We want to kind of step back in some kind of symbolic way, and that tends to mean this idea of going within, or closing your eyes and going deeper into your mind, or searching within past the clouds of guilt within your mind, trying to find a light in your mind, trying to see God within here, getting in touch with the Holy Spirit in your mind, reaching out to Jesus in your mind. So currently, whatever your experience of the limits of your mind is, it probably is going to be mostly in here. And so wherever your mind is, however big your mind is, just think of it as you're going to go inside your mind and not towards the physical. Sort of a going within, towards where you're coming from. Because technically within could also include the universe. So anyway, I interpret it mostly as going inside and going deeper and going behind and going above and in towards a sort of a center or whatever. But anyway, let me, Father, look within and find your promise of my sinlessness is kept. Your word remains unchanged within my mind. Your love is still abiding in my heart. Sit quietly and close your eyes. The light within you is sufficient. It alone has the power to give the gift of sight to you. Exclude the outer world and let your thoughts fly to the peace within. So this is like a meditative thing that he's asking us to do. Close your eyes, and there's a light in you that gives you vision, which is the spiritual eye. It's in your mind. Only the mind can see. Exclude the outer world. Get away from the physical stimuli. Go within, like a sort of a meditation. And let your thoughts fly to the peace within. So he's now saying you that peace is inside you somewhere. And it's not over there initially. When you look within and see me, Jesus is saying, you're going to look within and see him. It will be because you have decided to manifest truth, to project truth. And as you manifest it, you will see it both without and within, because you have projected it and now you perceive it. And you will see it because you saw it first within. So you need to see truth in you, within you, in your projector, in your mind, before you project, before you perceive. And then by seeing it within yourself, you will project truth upon the world and see truth projected onto the world as a perception. The Holy Spirit takes you gently by the hand and retraces with you your mad journey outside yourself, leading you gently back to the truth and the safety within. That's quite interesting. So retracing your steps always means, going back the way you came, going in the reverse direction. And the Holy Spirit is saying he's going to take you inside yourself. And that you went on a mad journey outside yourself, where you tried to become a body and you left yourself and you tried to move yourself out. I've felt sometimes, if I'm really angry for some reason, I'm projecting guilt. It's an attempt to become one with somebody else's body in a way, where I'm trying to put so much of what I think is part of my guilty self onto the other person that I feel this literal, like mind is going outside the body and it's trying to displace itself and locate itself, locate the guilt, the guilty party outside, and all this externalizing. So the Holy Spirit's going to lead you gently back to the truth and the safety within. So within you, there is safety. As long as you believe that guilt is justified in any way in anyone, whatever he may do, you will not look within, where you would always find atonement. So now he's telling you that atonement, or the atonement, is inside your mind. It's not out there. It's something that you find by looking within. When he has looked within and seen the radiance there, he will remember how much his Father loves him. So supposedly we're now supposed to look within and find a light. And there's a radiance, an inner altar where there is a peace and joy and love. And God's love is there. And the thing to then realize is that God is there. If you do any kind of a meditative thing, I've been doing recently basically this, where I go within and I try to focus on peace and stillness and quiet and calm and silence and paying attention and listening and receiving. And after a while, if I do it well, I start noticing that I'm looking for peace and I'm looking for love, and that there's a sense of God there too, that you start finding out that God is hanging out in the peace and the love. And so in order for you to get into the peace and the love, you also have to include God. And so it's like, if you want to be at peace, you have to be there with God. So then you're finding God within yourself. In shining peace within you is the perfect purity in which you were created. Fear not to look upon the lovely truth in you. Look through the cloud of guilt that dims your vision, and look past darkness to the holy place where you will see the light. Looking within, trying to find light, going past your guilt, getting underneath your darkness, going behind the lies and the self-deception, and going deeper and higher, and finding the light in a perfect purity and a lovely truth in you. Something I realized kind of recently is the fact that the truth about you is still there. You're still as God created you. Your soul is still perfect. There's a light in you that God put there. And for all the ways that we've gone outside of ourselves and separated off and projected and denied who we are and covered it up with guilt and condemnation, at the same time as the guilt being there, underneath the guilt, there's still your real self. You separating from God did not convert you into a sinner. You didn't stop being innocent and become guilty. You kept the innocence that is God's will that nobody can change, and you covered it up with guilt. You put a layer of ego bullshit on top of it. So when you go within, past these clouds of guilt, you find out that underneath them, you are still innocent. There is still a light and a truth and a purity and an innocence and a sinlessness in you, covered up by the blocks to the awareness of the presence of that love. So you need to, it's not that you've become a guilty person or a bad, unlovable person, is that you have these false ideas of guilt and unworthiness piled up on top of, covering over an underlying perfection and innocence. You are still as God created you underneath. And as you go within, past the clouds of guilt, beyond the darkness, you start to tap into a pre-existing light and love that is already there. And you start finding out that God is in your mind still, and there's a place in you that is so peaceful and so beyond the world and so unchanged. It's still in its original condition. It's still as God created it. There's a place in your mind. So your mind has within it a holiness and a perfection, and a small part of mind that is guilty and full of ego. But the ego part has not obliterated the good part. So all you've got to now do is get past this ego shit and tap back into the actual real truth that is still in your mind. So, as he's saying, if you go within, you're going to find out that there is a peace in you, there's a truth in you, there's a light in you, that God is in you. There's an altar, an inner place that is so deep and so far beyond the external world that nothing can touch it. And it's undefiled, and it's perfect and innocent. You who have always loved your Father can have no fear for any reason to look within and see your holiness. So he's literally saying there's a holiness in you right now. There's a Christ in you right now. And it's just obscured from your vision by this garbage piled on top of it. And you need to get past the garbage and find out who you really are and know yourself and realize that you never stopped being perfect underneath this veneer of shite. The shiteville that has to be undone. All idols in this world were made to keep the truth within from being known to you, and to maintain allegiance to the dream, so that you must find what is outside of you to be complete and happy. So this is literally now saying there's a carrot on a stick dangling in front of your face by the ego, held outside of you, away from you, that tempts you and draws you out away from yourself and makes you seek to find it and idolize it and worship it. And that if you could get the carrot, if you could gain the world and lose your soul, you would be happy. And so all of the idols in the world were made to keep the truth within from being known to you. So it's like this, the world was made to tempt you, to distract you and pull you away from God, to make you go outside of your mind and out into the external seeking, instead of looking in here where the truth is. It was made to literally as like a magnet to pull you out of yourself and away from your inner truth. Because if you were to look within and find out that there is no sin, and find an innocence that is there right now in your mind, buried, and rediscover it, you would no longer seek for anything in the world. And you'd no longer scapegoat. God dwells within, and your completion lies in him. No idol takes his place. Look not to it, idols. Do not seek outside yourself. So it's like saying, stop seeking outside yourself for any kind of happiness, reward, validation, truth, adoration, completion, trophies, things that are going to save you, things that are going to do stuff for you. Stop looking outside yourself. You've got to go within. God dwells within. God is in everything I see that I've projected, because God is in my mind. And all this will they understand, because they looked within and saw beyond the darkness the Christ in them, and recognized him as themselves. Christ is within you. Home of the Holy Spirit, and at home in God alone, does Christ remain at peace within the heaven of your holy mind. So now Christ and your home in heaven and the Holy Spirit and God and peace is in your holy mind. You're not going to find it in the world, because the world is a gap of separation. It was designed to be the place where God could enter not, etc. You got to find it within so you can broadcast it into the gap and erase the gap. The Father wills that you hear His word today. He calls to you from deep within your mind, where He abides. Hear Him today. So now He's saying that God is deep within your mind. And He's calling to you through the Holy Spirit deep within your mind, where He abides. So if you were to go within into your mind, you will find God. And you won't find God by going away from yourself and trying to find it in the world. When I had an experience of God, God was in my mind, and I saw God in everything I saw, and everything had love in it. But then that ended because my mind shut God out again, and I couldn't see God in the world, and I couldn't see the love, and I was angry because I thought that I was seeing God in the world because God was in the world. But God only appeared to be in the world because God was in my mind. And when I wasn't aware of God in my mind, I could not see God in the world. Because God is in your mind, He's inside. He isn't really out there. Let the light of holiness and truth light up my mind, and let me see the innocence within. Your innocence is inside you. I am your son, forever just as you created me. For the great rays remain forever still and undisturbed within me. We clear a holy place within our minds before His altar, where His gifts of peace and joy are welcome, and to which we come to find what has been given us by Him. So now you can find everything that God has given you by going within. God's peace and joy and all God's gifts at the inner altar in your mind, a clear and holy place. So somewhere in your mind there is a clear and holy place. Right now, even if you're covered in ego, slimed with ego, the roads of the world cannot take you to that place. What road in all the world will lead within? When every road was made to separate the journey and the purpose it must have, unless it be but a futile wandering, i.e., all the roads in the world, all the pathways that take you outside yourself, take you away from God. None of the world's roads lead within. Something in the Course says, all the roads in the world have led you nowhere. And meaning always looks within to find itself, and then looks out. All meaning that you give the world outside must thus reflect the sight that you saw within. So you always look within to find meaning, and then you project. So if you've got the wrong meaning in your mind, you're going to see hell. You get the right meaning in your mind, you're going to project a reflection of heaven. How holy are our minds, and everything that we see reflects the holiness within the mind, at one with God and with itself. The holiness at one with God within the mind is projected out as a reflection. When you are ready, you will find it there, within your mind and waiting to be found. Somewhere within you, God is waiting to be found. Now let his true perception come to me, that I may waken from the dream of guilt and look within upon my sinlessness, which you have kept completely undefiled, upon the altar to your Holy Son, the self with which I would identify. So within you there is a sinlessness. The ego says, don't look within because there's going to be sin in there and you're not going to like it. But the truth is that what if you looked within and saw that there was no sin, and you actually saw your innocence, and you found yourself within yourself as sinless. My sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. Deep within you is everything that is perfect. All holiness, heaven, God, light, truth, love, power, miracles, healing ability, Holy Spirit, Kingdom of God, and your brothers also, their spirits, are within your mind. If heaven is within, why would you seek for idols which would make of heaven less? Seek him within you, who is Christ in you, the Son of God. If you will not look for it, I will not look for it outside myself. It is not found outside and then brought in, but from within me it will reach beyond, and everything that I see will but reflect the light that shines in me and in itself. So you got to find this light within yourself to be the light of the world, and then you bring the light back to the darkness and shine the darkness away to replace the darkness in the world with the light. With the holiness that never left the altar, which abides forever deep within the Son of God. So inside your mind there is an altar to God. I think of it kind of as the place where you're joined to God, kind of where you meet with God, where you're one with God, sort of the Christ mind, or the sort of connector, this sort of inner, described as an altar, I think, for the reason that, you know, an altar is like a sort of a sacred space, or like a place that is where you join with your creator or your deity or whatever. It's that the innermost place where you can meet with yourself and God. Deep within the Son of God. We enter in the time of practicing with one intent, to look upon the sinlessness within. So like some of these workbook lessons have you doing this, having you go within, trying to find a light, going past the clouds of guilt, going deeper, finding salvation in your mind, finding your true self, finding God, going to the inner altar, reaching through the gates of heaven, passing through the light accompanied by angels in your mind. It's all this going within. The changelessness of heaven is in you, so deep within that nothing in this world but passes by unnoticed and unseen. The still infinity of endless peace surrounds you gently in its soft embrace, so strong and quiet, tranquil in the might of its Creator. Nothing can intrude upon the sacred Son of God within. All of your sacredness, all of heaven, is so deep within you that the world passes by unnoticed and unseen. It's undisturbed. There is a peace in your mind. Seek this function deep within your mind, for it is waiting there, awaiting but your choice. Put all of your faith in the love of God within you, eternal, changeless, and forever unfailing. Would you stand outside while all of heaven waits for you within? Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek to find all of the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. The barriers within yourself, within your mind, that you've built against love are your blocks to love. They are your self-attack, your guilt, your condemnation, your belief that you've sinned. All of that stuff, you against yourself, split-minded, at war with yourself. Remove all that crap so that you can uncover your perfection. The Holy Spirit's purpose rests in peace within you. As I share the peace of the world with my brothers, I begin to understand that this peace comes from deep within myself. So as you're opening up to this peace within yourself, you start to project it, and you start to see it, and you start to share it with your brothers, because you're finding that it's coming from deep within you. Today we ask of God the gift He has most carefully preserved within our hearts, waiting to be acknowledged. You have been assured that the kingdom of God is within you and can never be lost. In order to see, one must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see outside yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing outside of you. The light within. Look deep within you, undismayed by all the little thoughts and foolish goals that you pass. As you ascend to meet the Christ in you, He will be there, and you can reach Him now. Look deep within you, undismayed, to find Christ. And what attracts you from beyond the veil is also deep within you, unseparated from it and completely one. Because this is a world of separation and a gap and an illusion of distance and time and stuff, it can seem as if you're in here in your mind, and then there's a body, and then there's a space, and then there's somebody else's body, and then there's their mind. And in order to join with their mind, it seems as though you have to get past these physical obstacles. Or there's a veil of illusions, there's the planet Earth, there's the physicality. Coming between the world stands like a block before the face of Christ. It's like a veil of illusions, and it seems as though on the other side of the veil there is a light that your Christ vision can see, that you are one with. But it's like you're on the other, part of you is on the other side of the veil and on this side of the veil, and the veil is the problem, and the veil is in your mind. So in some ways, going within means going within this way, retracing your steps to find a oneness inside here. But simultaneously, this going within causes a shining without and a projecting of light, and you begin to see the reflection of that outside. And so it's like heaven is everywhere, God is everywhere. There's a bubble of space-time of the world, and so technically your mind is outside of the world. And when you go outside yourself, you go into the world. So as you go within your mind, seemingly away from the world in this sort of one direction, you actually go in all directions, and you go out of the world towards heaven, which is really everywhere outside of the world bubble. So in a sense, going within causes you to also reach out beyond the bodies of other people. So you see Christ within, and you project that, and it allows you to see Christ past their bodies. And you are over there beyond the body and beyond the world as well as being in here. So going within at the deeper, higher levels is actually expansive and more of a oneness and more of a transcending space and time, in which you are becoming very large. And going within means going everywhere, essentially. But it means getting away from the physical, whether it's that you're withdrawing back this way, away from the physical, or you're jumping over the physical hurdles, obstacles to peace, and connecting with something over there beyond the bodies of other people, beyond the physical. So that's why within can be a little confusing, because it essentially means above and transcendental of what is physical. So it can, for most of the time, it seems like you're going in here, inside the body, into your mind, where you think your mind is in here. But later you'll discover that within sort of becomes one without. So what attracts you from beyond the veil is also deep within, unseparated from it and completely one. So what's in here is what's within this piece of the mind that you've separated off from heaven is also within the mind that's over there beyond the veil that is in heaven. You jump over the gap of separation because you're transcendental. You do not know how to look within yourself, for you do not believe that your home is there. Yet the Holy Spirit knows it for you, and He will guide you to your home, because that is His mission. So the Holy Spirit now is going to tell you that your home is inside yourself. Heaven, the kingdom of God, and God's womb is in you, and is a part of you. And you're not going to find it in the physical. And you don't know how to look within, because you don't believe that you're going to find anything within you that's really there. You just think this is just darkness. But behind, below, underneath, beyond, above, all this stuff, there is a light, there is the altar, heaven, God, peace, love, joy, your real self, the truth, the Holy Spirit. The atonement can only be accepted within you. You can only find the atonement, or the final miracle, or the truth, God, within you. The spiritual eye, on the other hand, cannot see the building at all, but it perceives the altar within with perfect clarity. Knowledge comes from the altar within and is timeless because it is certain. That's all I got for quotes that I happened to find earlier. But, I think the message is pretty clear from all those that, although we've been heavily caught up in external engagements with people and bodies and places and things and events and happenings and problems and dramas and relationships and fights and arguments and wars and conflicts and all these sort of world things, sometimes we got to switch it off and go within and search within your mind and look for yourself within your mind. Try and find God within your mind. Look for the light in your mind. Try to join with your brother's mind within your mind. Include your brother in the love of God with you in your mind. Share God with him in your mind. Find heaven in your mind. Seek out the peace in your mind. Find the light and the innocence and the joy in your mind, the sinlessness. Look underneath and behind and beyond the surface bullshit in your mind and reach and seek for everything that you've ever really wanted in the kingdom of God in your mind. So this is very much a going within. You need to get into mind and get away from this whole I'm a body outside my mind and I'm engaging with an outside world and I'm annoyed with an external world and focusing on the world and trying to deal with it, when you really just need to get your mind straight and forgive yourself and love yourself so that you can share that love with others. And that requires a transcending of separation and a transcending of the body and of the body identity. You're actually going to find your brothers in your mind because the kingdom of God is in your mind, and you going within isn't supposed to be a withdrawal from your brothers. It's actually supposed to help you to connect with them and find them, because everyone is within you, because you are one with everyone. Everyone is a part of you. But you're not going to find anything worth having in the world by searching out there in that direction, unless you're going way past bodies to the light of Christ's vision that is seen beyond them. If you're focusing on anything in the world, the physical, the form, the shapes, the colors, the objects, the bodies, the planet, and so on, you're focusing, you're in denial of the mind. Making the body real in order to deny that you have a mind takes you away from yourself and away from God and puts your focus on the external and suggests that you're outside your mind. So we need to go backwards. We need to go within. We need to shut our frickin' eyes from time to time and go within and find out if there is a way for you to experience and feel peace and love and God and light and joy and happiness within yourself. And if you've got stuff in you that needs to be healed, you're going to have to work on it. Because if you don't, you won't be able to be miraculous. And if you don't, you're going to project it all over the place. And if you don't, you're going to keep yourself in the darkness and stay away from the light. So you have to heal all of your pain, all of your hurts, all of your grievances, all of your self-condemnation, all of the things you project, all of your unforgiveness towards yourself, all of your self-condemnation, self-abuse, self-hatred, self-loathing, self-attack, all of the ways that you believe that you are not perfect and whole and innocent, all the ways that you have denied the Son of God, all the ways that you think you don't deserve to live, has to be undone. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. So you're going to have to work miracles of mind healing for yourself, seemingly for your separate self first, so that you can start realizing that you're not separate and that you include others, and then that will overflow into the healing of other minds as well, and you will bring the miracles that you've received and give them to others. Sharing in oneness and transcending bodies together and being united in love. where it now seems as though maybe you project that love outside onto things and onto the world and onto bodies and beyond bodies to minds, but it's really an inner joining. It's like you're like finding the wholeness of yourself and being one within yourself. The other person is finding the wholeness and the oneness within themselves, and then you're transcending space and time and uniting in that oneness, rather than the ego's whole drive is to sort of go outside yourself and have the other person go outside themselves and meet in the middle, in the space, in the form, in the flesh. And that's supposed to be relationship, and it's really separation, specialness, special relationships. So go within. See if you can find God in your mind. See if you can feel peace in your mind. Search for the light in your mind. Heal your self-attack. Forgive yourself. Love yourself. Let yourself off the hook. Find yourself to be innocent. Stop accusing yourself. Realize that you have never done anything wrong. You've never sinned. There is no sin. God is not holding anything against you. Nothing that you've ever done has ever hurt anything real. You've never done anything wrong. You're not guilty. You don't deserve to be punished or to die. Let yourself be loved. Receive God's love. I receive the healing love of God. Feel the love in you and around you. Let yourself be absorbed in that love and opening up to God again and letting yourself be in the light, feeling God's love for you. Find yourself within yourself and uncover what God has put in you, in your innermost altar, your holy, innocent, perfect self. See you later. I'm going within.